Welcome everyone. This is our 10th episode of World Talent Economy Forum. I am President of World Talent Economy Forum, Sharifuddin Ahmed from Malaysia. Today I have another guest. He is Mr. Irfan Pathan from India. So today we will know about India, we will know about the present situation of India, we will know how they overcome from these situations, what's their healthcare system, what's the present their economic systems, and many more things. And most importantly, this man is very dynamic, very smart. So hopefully our audience and peoples will know a lot of things about India. If you have any question, you can join with us. You can ask our audience, like our guest, and they will, we will actually, both of us try to give your question answers. Hello, Mr. Irfan Pathan. How are you? Iftikhar Pathan,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I'm very good. Though I'm in a lockdown, I've been working from home and just being positive and keeping to my game at the best possible.
Okay, great. Can I know about you, your career, your activities? What are you doing? And
Sure. So, first of all, I'd like to thank you for having me on this show, and I appreciate the kind of work that you're doing. It is really praiseworthy. A little bit about myself. So, I actually come from a middle class background. So, we grew up in penury. So, we were not economically, we were not very well off as a family, and things were difficult. So getting to go to education was very difficult. So I went to a small school in my village, which is in Maharashtra. And then we decided, in a vernacular language school, in fact. And then my parents decided that if my children have to do good, we had to shift to a city. So 100 kilometers away was the city of Pune, where we came and we settled. I went in an English school. When I came to Pune, and that's the reason today I am able to speak to Mr. Sharif, PhD scholar of Malaysia, in the English language. That's how the journey began. So I completed my schooling in Pune. I did my college. I then specialized in advertising and public relations. After which I started working for a large corporate, because I wanted to take experience in a large corporates and how things work there and the professionalism and so on and so forth. So after that, I finished my education. Then I joined, different organizations. First with the Kirloskar organization, we were one of the largest groups in Maharashtra. I worked with them, and I finally looked after the international marketing for them. Then I decided to start on my own in 1998. It is a journey that I started with minus 1 lakh. I had nothing in my pocket, and I decided to be an entrepreneur. And this entrepreneur bug, once it bites you, then you just don't think of anything. So I have shown a lot of grit and determination as much as I can, and I never gave up. So I kept working, and I got a lot of success slowly. And then in 2000, I got a chance to go to Germany. So that was my first time outside the country. And I got a fantastic experience working with the Germans. They are very methodical, as you know. So I did a project. I was assisting someone to do a project in creating an ERP there. So this is a very good friend of mine, Mr. Sood. And because of him, first time I really went out of the country and I worked there. So between 2000 and 2005, I spent a lot of time in Germany. So that is very interesting. And then in between 2005 and 2010, I spent time in Australia. So I lived in a place called Sydney. We did a couple of projects there. One was tying up the marriage between the New South Wales government and the Indian government, Maharashtra government. We did a joint solar project. It was a fantastic project because there is something called Elephanta Caves in Bombay. So it is just 11 kilometers across the sea, and last 60 years it doesn't have light. So we did an off-grid solar project and we lit that village, and it changed a lot of lives of people. So that was a remarkable project, and then it was spoken about all over the world, and I was interviewed by CNBC in France. And India, we got a very good response from the government, and the New South Wales government gave us a grant to do the project. So that was a very interesting project. So that is my stories in terms of, so I worked in a lot of countries, Australia, Asia, complete Middle East, up to Syria, and all of Europe. And then I set up a very interesting project, which is the first PPP project of my city, a public-private partnership project. So which was a philanthropic project or an NGO. I set up an NGO with some prominent doctors and some business people, 5 of us. And that was set up in Pune city. So it's a 100-bed hospital that we run, which does a lot of charity. And we've been doing exemplary work as far as cardiology and minimal invasive surgeries are concerned. And we've been addressing a lot of local issues that there are in healthcare. So this is how I've been. I've been a part of the World Entrepreneurship Forum in Lyon in France as a member think tank. And I work with a lot of important universities across the globe. And so from being a small boy with absolutely no wherewithal, no economic status, no money to go to school or college, God has been kind, and I've been able to do this journey. And the only means of conveyance for me was my leap of faith, and that has really helped me. And I have come to this level today, and I thank God for it. So that's my story in a very short way.
Okay. Brilliant. Basically, from your discussion, I have a lot of questions. Before I go for my personal questions, we have very basic questions. What's the present situation of India? What's going on in India? It's a 1.38 billion people, right? So what's going on? Yes.
So India at this point of time is going through a shock. There is a lot of problem because of COVID, because COVID came surreptitiously. It came very slowly. We didn't understand. We had started the year with a bang and a lot of good things happening. In February, I was attending the conference in Istanbul, and 20th Feb, I came back. So it had started then, but not so much. So when we came back, we thought it will be another something happening and it will just go off. We didn't know the seriousness of that. So everyone in the country was taken aback, almost shocked. Our Prime Minister decided to take a hard stand, and on 24th of March, he took a very strong and a very bold decision to lock down India. And Mr. Sharif, this has never happened in my life, your life, for so many years, that an extraordinary situation had come wherein all of us were supposed to be locked down at home. This is completely new to us. We didn't know what to do. We were given only 4 hours by Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi. He said, from tonight, 12 o'clock, 8 o'clock, he said that, and 12 o'clock, he said, we are under a lockdown. And this pandemic had come. So that's how it all began. So all of us rushed and we were hoarding stuff. We wanted to get supplies for at least a month or 2. We didn't know what the situation is going to be. Or maybe that time I was thinking maybe 15 days or 20 days, because we need to take care of our family and our children. So that's how it all began, but it went on getting worse. We went in the first phase of a lockdown, then we went the second phase of the lockdown. Now we are in the third phase of the lockdown and the fourth phase. So last almost about more than 2 months we've been inside. As a result of this, what has happened is all the businesses, the small, medium-size, MSME and micro SME, all the businesses are in doldrums. They're in big trouble. Alongside what happened is we didn't have the healthcare right. You know that we just have 0.5% per 1,000 bed capacity. So the government went into a shock and they decided to keep us at home. But everywhere the economy and the situation in India is bad from the last 4 to 5 weeks. I have been watching. It used to be 3,000 every 24 hours being added to the COVID cases. As we talk today, there are 6 to 7,000 added every 24 hours. So we have reached an alarming figure of 1.5 lakh cases in India, and about 4,000 people have died. But only good thing about the whole thing is the recovery rate is very good. So that is something which is heartening to know, that the recovery of people that is happening is at about 42%. But the situation, to answer your question, is still very alarming.
Okay, now is a very challenging situation. First, I want to know about Indian healthcare system. I know India has a lot of good doctors, researchers, even they are famous for their professional work. Even you are involved with a hospital and this related things. So healthcare system, I want to know, because it's a huge amount of people, very big countries economically. So what's the situation of healthcare system?
So if you talk about healthcare, you need to understand that the government infrastructure of healthcare in India has always been in shambles. So the infrastructure is not good. It is always understaffed. The staff that is working there is always demoralized because they don't get the emoluments, or they don't get well paid, so to say. And the government policy a few years back, they decided that they will give a lot of SOPs to the private healthcare people. And so they just doled out a huge amount of benefits to the private sector. And the private sector grew much more than the government sector. In fact, though the private sector charges on an average 4 times more than the government sector, people still prefer going to the private sector for obvious reasons. The GDP, Mr. Sharif, that India spends about little less than 1.5% of its GDP on the healthcare system, which is the lowest in the world. And that is a big impediment for the healthcare infrastructure to grow. And because we have 0.05 bed per 1,000 population, it is a big challenge when there is a health emergency. For example, this Covd19 issue, or the pandemic that is happening in the country, has put the whole healthcare system under pressure. And it is a big issue as far as controlling the pandemic is concerned, and screenage is concerned, lab testing is concerned, foot soldiers going and doing work is concerned. There was other issues. For example, as soon as the COVID started, the government has to look after all the patients. And the government obviously doesn't have the infrastructure for communicable diseases, so to say. And the private sector said that they are not going to get into this. So all the OPDs stopped, all the small hospitals stopped, and they are hit by the business, but they also don't want to cater to the COVID patients. So it is a very tricky situation, but the government quickly, for example, I come from Maharashtra, as you know. So we have almost 35% cases are from us, which is not a great thing to sort of be in a situation. But we have quickly ramped up the testing labs. We have ramped up extra bed facilities, because it's not just the patient. If there is one person who is affected, all the entire family or that entire community has to be quarantined. So you need multiple beds. So it has been extremely horrendous. People are waiting for days outside these big hospitals, but cannot be admitted. There have been cases where some of the people, unfortunately, have lost their lives. And it has been very bad, extremely bad.
Understand. From your analysis, do you have any specific data, like how many frontliner, like doctor, nurse, even from defense, how many people, or even journalists actually trying to help local community to solve these things, because frontliner are major challenging situations. So can I know about them, their conditions? Do you have any idea about the frontliner
Yes.
situation?
So yes. So when you talk about frontliners or COVID warriors, like I'd like to call them, so you have the doctors, the nursing staff, the medical workers, and you have the police force and the guard. So these are all the people who actually got on the ground and they had to work. So most of them, we have lost a lot of lives of doctors here, where a lot of nurses have gotten affected, and mainly this was never known before. Lot of police personnel has gotten affected by COVID. So there are few hundreds of such people who have gone affected, and there have been dozens of them who have had to lose their life. So it's been pretty difficult for them. But a very good example is these. We have someone called the ASHA workers.
ASHA workers, okay.
ASHA workers. So they have
Yes.
rural ASHAs and the urban ASHAs. So these
Yes.
are accredited health workers, and they are actually activists. Voluntarily, they are working. So I don't know if you've read the news, but the Assam state, they went on the ground and they have gone and created awareness as foot soldiers to 18,000 villages. So that is something that the foot soldiers are really doing a great job, and they've had a lot of problems. We didn't have the PPE kits, we didn't have the requisite ventilators, we didn't have enough workers to work on, especially the healthcare workers, and all the other people who have retired have been called back to work. So situation on the ground is not very good as far as the healthcare infrastructure is concerned.
No, I understand, because you are from this industry, you have experience on that particular point. So there are many underprivileged people in India, right? And we have soft corner about these underprivileged people. So what's their conditions? And most importantly, everything locked down. 1.38 billion people. It's a huge amount of people. How India actually handle this supply chain management, their food, their necessary healthcare things. What the inner things, or can you share something beautiful example from India? How Indian community actually working together in that situation?
Yeah. So what has happened is, we have a lot of people from the north working in different regions. Like they come to Maharashtra. So there are various examples. But if you take example of a small unit like my house, the maid servant that comes home and has been working with us, or the cook that comes home, they've been working with us for the past 19-20 years. Suddenly they were told not to come because the COVID is there, and that itself has been a challenge for them to sort of live their normal lives. And all the availability of goods, the government made sure that at least the essential services were permitted. So the logistics for the essential services, some of the shops in all the areas were open. So we did have some issues with getting everything, but mostly we got the essentials that we need to eat and live a life. But the main issue in India that we had is of the migrant workers. Now, the migrant workers, when they were said that you just be wherever you are, don't go. So these are the people who work for daily wages. You understand that, Mr. Sharif? They eat, they work the whole day, get the money in the evening, and then they can get one square meal. So these guys are just above the poverty line, and they are the ones who are the hardworking people who work all day and then eat in the night. But that was stopped. So that became a huge problem, and then they wanted to just go back to their homes. And when they wanted to go back, all the trains, all the transportation, all intercity movement was stopped. So there were some of the images that are in my mind are something which will really touch your heart. Thousands of them started walking back. 600 kilometers, 1000 kilometers, 2000 kilometers. Most of them walk just to arrive and fall dead.
Yes, yes, yes.
And there was absolutely no one to look after them. And then the locals, the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations started to come up, and they started helping in this journey. So that was something which was very sad. There is one incident I remember which happened about 1.5 months back, where these workers who's walking with all his family, his children, nothing to eat, tired walking all day, they slept on a railway track. And the railway came in the night and 14 people died, a horrific death. So these things are extremely bad. There was another example where one of the daughters, who was 15-year-old, Jyoti Kumari, she has now become viral all over the world. She told her father was not well. So she got a cycle. She said, Daddy, we must go back to our home. So she got a cycle. She made him sit behind him and she drove 1,200 kilometers in 8 days.
Understand.
In fact, Mr. Sharif, Ivanka Trump saw that, and she has tweeted about the human endurance. So there has been this human saga, and it touches me a lot, like it touches you and all the other Indians who we are sitting on our couches and we feel that we are not doing enough for such people.
Yes, yes, yes. Like we just want to know, like example, even though country like Malaysia, governments and corporation, they take initiative like in as a team. Government also come to the front, and different kind of corporation like Sunway and many big corporation, they come and contribute for these things. Like how actually Indian corporation, they have many big corporation like Tata, Reliance Group, many things in India has. So what's the contribution? Because if it's a very challenging situation, what this kind of big corporation actually helping the local ecosystem?
Yeah, so I would definitely applaud the efforts that the corporates have taken. Most of the corporates, what they have done is, for example, you spoke of the Tatas. So they committed 3 sets of tranches of funds, which amounted to 1,500 crores. And there were a lot of other corporates like the Mahindras, the bigger and smaller, everyone together. They have contributed a huge amount. Azim Premji.
Yes.
So his foundation has contributed a lot. But corporates definitely have come up. A lot of high net worth individuals have come. A lot of Bollywood celebrities, they have come up doing. And exemplary work done by all the non-governmental organizations and NGOs also in India.
Very good, very good. So as you have very good experience with the healthcare and NGO, how actually Indian NGO work, how they contribute, or like we want to know more about the Indian NGO, and I know that you have a lot of activities in futures. So can you share your personal activities and thoughts and process of the Indian NGO and their culture?
So the Indian NGOs are they come from a service-oriented heart. They want to do good for the society, and there are huge amount of examples. I will not take names here, but they are working for the downtrodden. They are working for women empowerment. They are working for uplifting the society. They are working for slum. There are a lot of problems in health, water, sanitation, food. So the list is there, and there are some of the other ones who are working on more intellectual sort of problems, like mental health and so on and so forth. Some of the people from Bollywood and others. But instead of talking of others, I'd like to talk of our own self. So what we've done is we work on 2 projects. The first project that we work on is creating water from air, from moisture. So we have a setup in south of India, and this is a unique product that we are selling to the Indian government and to corporates and to consumers in India. But as a philanthropic side, due to this, we were suddenly plunged into this COVID situation. So we decided to start something called WBLI, means Water Based Livelihood Initiative. So what is going to happen, Mr. Sharif, Dr. Sharif, that after post-COVID, there is going to be a huge amount of unemployment. Because a lot of businesses are closed, people will come back, but by the time they come back to their normal and hit the ground running, there is going to be a lot of issues with unemployment. Sorry, so what we are trying to do, we are trying to tell the unemployment youth to start water business from wherever places that they have, which can be a standalone or could be a model which we call WOW, that is water on wheels, and sell this water which is coming from the air. So you don't need a water source, you just put the big machine of 500 liters or 1000 liters and you sell that water and make money. So maybe sometime we'll share more details of what that initiative is, but this has been taken very positively by the local government, by the agencies, and the financial partners are coming in. So we will soon be launching this initiative. So that is one initiative that we are doing. And water, you know, there is a scarcity of water, and a lot of cities in India are going to day zero. And the other initiative, other initiative that we are doing is we are creating something called the Miraculous platform. So this platform gets the NGOs on one side and the corporates on the other side. So the corporates get to see the NGO and the curated deals come to them. So the curated projects are visible. So the corporate says, my CSR fund, I want to put in this project that the NGOs do. And one side we have the vendors, and the other side we have the community who wants to help. So this unique platform will help the entire ecosystem to sort of grow and build further and be ready for such pandemics. So these are the two very novel initiatives that we as a team, my partners, we have Durga Das and we have Vishal Naik, we have all taken this and we are doing our 2 cents for the community.
Very interesting. So like example, now actually major challenges is unemployment. So you are working on the unemployment solutions. So like, do you have any specific data like how many Indian people can be unemployed in that situation, or how you can get involved and solve these things, or for at least for South Asia, how you can contribute through this process?
See, you have to understand historically, from the last 8 to 10 years, there has been a fairly large amount of unemployment. So someone is saying that the figures are as much as 24%. They have been there. You also have to understand the demographics of India. India has a lot of young population. 50% of Indians are under the age of 25. And the average age of Indians is 29 years. So we have a young population. So this population I see as it's a dividend, demographic dividend that India has. But post-COVID, if there is unemployment, this demographic dividend can become a demographic liability. And you know what happens if there are young youth having no work to do, no employment, they get on the streets. And situations we've seen a lot of places, not just in India, but around the globe, that then it becomes a problematic situation. It is linked directly to the security and law and order situation in the country. So these are the basics of what is happening. And the other aspect of this is that we are getting a lot of younger population to be employed in the industries. But many of them who are engineers, ironically, 68% of them, though they have an engineering degree, don't need engineering degree for the jobs they ultimately get. It's ironic, but that's how the situation is. So we have to look at creating more jobs, but this COVID has disrupted the whole economy. So whatever the normal planning was going, it has now doubled or tripled the problem is. So the government will have to take measures to make sure that all the industries bounce back and do their normal routine so that the employment goes up. There have been some silver lining to this cloud, like Amazon just about 4 days back announced that they will be adding about 50,000 more people to their workforce in India. And some of the older industrial giants in the country are making sure that they don't send their workers on furlough or take away the jobs. They're still paying them. So this is how it's being managed right now, but we don't know how things are going to unfold in the future. So till September, it's very difficult to say the exact situation, and obviously measures the government definitely wants to take, but it's not going to be easy. I heard of data leak happening just about 3 days back. 2.8 crore people have applied for jobs in India already.
Yes,
so
I
the
understand.
situation is grim.
Okay, very good. I want to know, like India has many professional people around the globes in medical industry, in tech industry, in everywhere, Indian people. So how your, especially I think the successful, highly successful people in different corporation, how they actually like communicate or help the Indian community. Maybe it can be a good example for other country.
Yeah, so what happens generally speaking is they have the PM's fund. The Prime Minister has a fund, and they have different kinds of funds that India has. So all the NRIs and the high net worth individuals who are living abroad and who are Indians and want to always do something for the country are contributing to this fund very, very benevolently and very generously. I wouldn't have the exact figures right now, but they've been helping a lot. And also smaller communities, they always send money directly to the NGOs that are working on ground. I have seen umpteen number of such examples where a lot of money comes in and each one of them has a story. So someone's near and dear one has died of cancer or now COVID or something like that. So they take that cause up, or someone takes education, healthcare, whatever. So this is how that is happening. And there are a lot of associations within the other countries. Like you remember PM Modi went last time to America. And he appealed to the Indian diaspora there to invest the money here. So after that, a lot of foreign direct investments and a lot of help has come. And obviously during the COVID times also, there is a generous help coming from the NRIs, the Indians.
Yes, very good. As you live in Pune, so we know that vaccine and other things from Pune research centers and the manufacturing, they are trying to produce in India. Do you have any informations or any specific things about this vaccine and how the people can get it, or what's the way, or what's the future?
So as we speak, the vaccine is not there yet, but there are a lot of people who are working on this. A lot of scientists, a lot of labs, a lot of startups are working on creating the vaccine. So we have a lot of intellectuals and a lot of brains who are now working on that. But the biggest example, the biggest manufacturer of vaccine is the Poonawalla Group. Mr. Cyrus Poonawalla is known as the vaccine man of the world. So a lot of vaccine, and the largest quantity is sold to the United Nations from India, and that is from Pune. It's a matter of pride for me that I belong to the same city. And they have tied up with Oxford University. So Oxford University, as you are aware, are developing a vaccine, and they are very confident that they'll be able to come with some sort of a vaccine, including the trials and all that are happening by September or October. So we're just hoping that it comes out soon. But like we're on that topic, I remember Mr. Narayan Murthy, who's the chairman of Infosys, said that even if you have a vaccine for a country like India, which is 1.38 billion people, that entire vaccination program itself is an onerous task. It'll take years maybe to vaccinate everybody. If you do a lakh of people every day, it'll take 37 years, for example. I mean, obviously they'll not do it that way, but it's a humongous task to vaccinate 1.38 billion people.
This is actually what we think the ultimately solution for this present situation. So this is also a good news from you. So that's why when we do research about our guests and everything, I find that you are from Pune. I say, okay, fantastic. Maybe our audience get a lot of because actually from around the world we get a lot of questions. So India now playing a very good role. So this is very interesting. Okay. My another important thing is that as you are special, like you have a specialization in business, you have a lot of connections, and you do a lot of work. What do you think the future of globalizations? What will happen?
So undoubtedly, see what has happened, Dr. Sharif, is that the geopolitics, as I and you understand, has changed. The power has changed. The way of doing business has changed. And the wars are going to be fought on maybe water, or the next enemy is going to be the contagion like a virus. So all this has affected the way the globalization is happening, to my understanding. And something that I don't like that is happening right now is two things. One is xenophobia. You don't want strangers. You want to keep away from strangers. And second, Islamophobia. These two things at the moment are plaguing the world. But globalization, because of technology, is a reality of life, and you have to work with partners as an ecosystem. So there is absolutely, I'm not saying this future is not good, I'm saying it's very good, but currently some of the rulers that rule the world are business people, which is good and bad. Like you see what is happening between the US and China. So it's the start of the Cold War between them. That definitely affects a lot of economies. But as far as India is concerned, we are gung-ho about doing good. We always spoke of doing 7% growth GDP. Unfortunately, this has come in. But what we are going to do is, like PM Modi said, we are looking at a 5 trillion economy. And India's internal consumption being good, we'd like to do that. But to answer your question, globalization, we are trying to tweak the idea. And like PM Modi said, we are going to be Atmanirbhar. So we are going to do our own production, and we have a huge amount of consumption possibility, and we have the potential here. So we had 1950 recession. We've seen 3 recessions: 1950, 1966, and 1980. 1980 was a negative growth that we've had. So we are all scared of what is happening at the moment in economy. We are also scared what has happened. There is a huge disruption as far as globalization in the true sense is concerned. But for the moment, we will tweak. We will make sure that we'll do make in India, and we will consume in India. So that's what my answer is.
Okay, very interesting. So as you have a very good knowledge about globalizations, but what's the India and China relationship? What do you think? But because we getting a lot of information, but like as a professional people, what's the relationship India and China? What do you think? What the future?
So,
because actually you control, I think, half of the people and more than that. So India and China. So what will be the future strategy?
So India and China, we love to hate each other.
Okay.
So we compete a lot. So my experience, whenever I worked in the Middle East market, or I worked my experience in Africa. So while I was doing work in Africa, I was surprised to see that there were 1 or 2 or 3 Indian companies. There are a lot of Indian diaspora, specifically in East Africa, in Uganda and Kampala. But that time I heard that there are 35,000 Chinese people moving into Uganda. So this is just one small example. So what they do is their whole system, the government is backed, and they're backed by the governments, and they give whatever they want to do, they'll do, but they'll get businesses. somehow.
Mhm.
My experience in Sydney, Australia, when I was doing the solar project, we had outsourced some manufacturing. So I went to outskirts of Sydney to a production unit, and inside all the workers were Chinese.
Okay.
So everywhere in the world they have made inroad. They are the factory of the world, and you can't beat them for that. So on one
Mhm.
hand, there is anti-China sentiments in India right now, but
Mhm.
on the other side, we are still buying PPE kits from them. So,
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
so yeah,
Interesting.
so it's ironic, but
Mhm.
China is a superpower. They're in terms of GDP, they're maybe about, if I'm not mistaken, 12 trillion.
Mhm.
US maybe is about 19 trillion. India is
Mhm.
still about close to 3, 2.5 to 3. So we have a long way to catch. I definitely
Mhm.
would say that. But we are wary of China. You know, the
Mhm.
war that had happened between us and
Mhm.
China. So there's a
Mhm.
very famous thing, that the story that we grew up with. They said that Hindi Chini bye bye. So that's
Mhm.
how they came in. But they attacked us. And it was trouble, and
Yeah.
we still have a lot of trouble in Doklam and on the borders. Unfortunately, we have a lot of porous borders, and we have very interesting neighbors. So they keep us busy. China is one important neighbor that
Mhm.
we have, and we are wary of them. And the trust
Mhm.
deficit is definitely there, especially
Mhm.
after they have exported COVID to us.
Yes, very good. As I'm from Malaysia, like here I saw many Malaysian, like Indian community live here. They're also Malaysian, but long time ago they come here. What do you think
Yes.
about Malaysia and Indian relationship? Well, how we can be more efficient and we can do work together and we can make more efficient platform together.
I think that we are a similar culture. So our
Yes,
moral
yes.
values, as far as our
Mhm.
spiritual values, and
Mhm.
the way we think and the way life is to both of us, there are a lot of similarities. And main thing is we are in the same region, so
Mhm.
we can do a
Mhm.
lot. I'm not sure if we have the free trade or other agreements in place, but there
Mhm.
can be a lot of work because logistics is easy and lot
Mhm.
of trade can happen. But
Mhm.
most importantly, with people such as yourself, we can look at the emerging technologies.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
all the technology side in terms of artificial learning, artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, all
Mhm.
these we can collaborate very well because we have a talented pool in India. And you guys can look at doing a lot of work for Industry 4 standards,
Mhm.
which is smart
Mhm.
manufacturing. So that is
Mhm.
apart from the conventional industries of trading and other things. I feel you
Mhm.
should look at a lot of technology happening. We should also look at academic tie-ups because it's
Mhm.
knowledge economy. So we should have
Mhm.
some of the universities from your side, some of the universities from our side to collaborate, and we should create incubation centers
Mhm.
because we
Mhm.
need to look at creating joint IP. And to
Mhm.
create IP is going to be something which both of us can benefit. And then if we
Mhm.
can come together, create IP that can be exported to the world, then I think that will be a good idea.
Mhm. Very good, very good. More like as you have a diversified knowledge and experience, lot of forums, angel investment
Yes.
forum, many more forum. You have a
Yes.
engagement as a senator, as an advisor, as a
Yeah.
speaker, many more things. You are
Sure.
actually very dynamic persons. So,
Thank you.
what your suggestion for youth? Like we have many youth even in Malaysia, around the world, we engage and we work with them. What do things, what the like next challenges they have to overcome, how they can prepare themselves, because you said that you come from a different background, you have to struggle a lot. How,
Yes.
like how do you think, how do you help the young people, even you are interested about incubation and this kind of things?
So I speak at a lot of universities and at forums with young people.
Hmm.
Like I told you, India is all about young people.
Hmm.
So 50% of us being 25. And
Hmm.
Indians, I think, are extremely smart. The children today have a lot of exposure. But
Hmm.
it's an information age. So there is abysmal amount of information available. So somewhere I think they're not being able to get original thinking and original thought, which used to be what we did, because we were not exposed to computers, we didn't have Google, we didn't have calculators, and we used to think about doing something, and we had a vision. So I think most of them, they should find a passion, and it need not be from the conventional industry, because most of the industries which were conventional are not seen as acme career choices for them now. So basic upbringing to work on the brain is fine, but I would say that we have to first start working on the heart. We need to create good human beings, because the whole teaching today is making money, being on the treadmill. It is cutthroat, it is dog eat dog world. But if you do basics like teaching basic moral values, basic spiritual values, simple middle class values, that value system makes them go really far. As far as education is concerned, they should find their own passion and do the best that they can. And then there is so many examples today. If you look at the country like India, we have amazing people who are doing amazing work. So they should do that. They should travel out. So my son, who is just finished 10th, when he was in his 8th, I sent him off to Russia on an exchange program. So he lived there in the External Affairs Ministry school. He went around, he saw the sculpture, and when he came back, he's a different person altogether. So I will always suggest that basic values, I will suggest travel. I always tell people read, because reading is extremely important. I had no money to go to school or college. Only thing I had, these books that you see behind. Whatever subject you like, it could be philosophy, it could be marketing, it could be whatever you like on the book. So that is something that they should obviously do, and they should work for their nation. They should keep religion on the side. It should just be a personal thing as far as religion is concerned, and find the passion and move ahead in this world to create impact and give back to the world, because there are so many issues that the globe at the moment faces.
Very interesting. You are talking about the Indian values. So even though, example, actually my family, even my grandmothers, even my wife grandmother, both of them actually come from India. So can you share some, can you share something interesting about Indian values, Indian cultures? We are very interested, because India also, I visited India. It's a multicultural country, many languages, many peoples, many things in the same place. So can you share the Indian values and cultures?
Yeah, India is actually, it is mesmerizing. It is one of the oldest civilization, and the predominant religion is Hinduism. So 82% of Indians are Hindus, but there are a lot of sects and there are a lot of different religions within the whole gamut of the religious experiment. And we have 6,000 dialects. So we might have about 24 official languages, but we have 6,000 dialects. And every time you cross one border to another border, the language changes, the dressing changes, the foods changes, everything changes. So it's like many countries rolled out into one country. But I think I have been blessed to be born in India in this multicultural and pluralistic society. So that's given me a very different perspective of life. I also appreciate that there are different sensibilities, people thinking in a different way than, because I am a Muslim, but I appreciate I've lived with my Hindu friends and Christian friends and Sikh friends, and we have so much of variety. So growing up in India has been a blessing for me. As far as the values are concerned, we are all very pious. We are very religious. So each one, you'll see a lot of religious programs happening all over the place. Every time there is something or the other happening. So you have temples, you have mosques, you have churches, and I grew up going to all these places. So and the basic values like CSR is a new term, corporate social responsibility. But I think Indians have been doing this for ages. Whoever comes to our house, we take care of them. The maids, small children who want to go to school, we are helping them. We respect the trees, nature, for example. We've been respecting that. There is a puja that happens for a tree, for example, or they, take care of the animals in a certain way. So this is what the value system, the spiritual values have been amazing, and the moral values also have been extremely good as far as Indian culture is concerned.
Very good. Very interesting. Actually, we have two more questions from audience. One question from Mohammad Sohel Rana. He said, as we know, India is a very good for IT sector. Did they use something for reducing COVID-19? This is number one question. Another question for one of the women. She is Humaira Tanzila. She asked to you, what's the situation of women in India right now in COVID periods?
Sure. So the first one I will answer. Technology has been heavily used during the COVID times. One or two examples are that there is Arogya Setu app that has been created in India, which has been talked over all over the globe. And that app generally keeps tab on what your health status is and stuff like that, and many other important aspects. Second is we've used the drone technology. So due to COVID and due to the amount of people that we have in India, it's very difficult to do any surveillance or to track them. So we're using drones that actually go into places to make sure at least the lockdown is being followed, or is there any person with temperature sensing abilities on the drone, and many other such parameters to make sure the COVID is curtailed, contained, tracking, surveillance, all this. So technology has been used in a huge way. Also to connect, we created an app, Miraculous Technologies, which is the company that I'm a part of, created an app that is doing matchmaking. So for example, Sharif, you want to give PPE kits or ventilators to someone, but you don't know who to go, where to give, but I have someone who wants it. So that app is an intelligent app which does this matchmaking. And it says that so-and-so hospital in Bombay or in Pune needs X amount of ventilators or PPE kits. So this is what we did. So we have used technology extensively during the pandemic. And
yes.
Sure.
Second questions, I think she want to know the present condition of women in India, and what the conditions actually. It's an audience question.
Yeah. So condition, if you ask for women in terms of the COVID time specifically, is that they have been overburdened with a lot of work. So they have to look at the home front. Most of them are working women. So I know a lot of friends of mine who are handling both, wearing two caps. They're doing a lot of work from home. Plus, there is no maid at home, so there's looking after the families and stuff like that. So as far as the COVID and pandemic situations are concerned, they are extremely stressed, but they are also the people who are giving the men a lot of strength and a lot of support, and they are multitasking. So that is what the situation on ground is. But if you are asking generally what the situation of women in India is, then women in India are doing amazingly good. We have a lot of women leaders. We have a lot of women presence on boards of companies. My company is a good example. So my company, my co-founder and CEO is a lady called Durga Das. And she used to be the Indian cricketer, and then she shifted to America for about 23 years, and then she's back now. And she's leading the water business that we do and doing some exemplary work. So women in India, in terms of literacy, in terms of leadership in corporates, in terms of taking social causes to the next level, playing the homemaker and researchers, scientists, they're everywhere. And we give a lot of importance. There are policies from the government side which make sure that an X number of women representation is there, even in the parliament, in the corporates, in the government offices. So overall speaking about women in India, I think we are very proud of them, and they are representing themselves at important places and doing fantastic amount of work.
Very interesting. Like as an entrepreneur, as an like you have a lot of experience around the world. You get
Yeah.
like from a business era. So, what the basic advice? Let's say three advice. Can you forward to us? Like our people can learn from these sessions. At least three important advice you can give for them.
For an entrepreneur,
Yes, 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 yes.
patience,
Mhm.
perseverance, and
Mhm.
persistence.
Mhm.
These are
Mhm.
the three things that any entrepreneur needs in one
Mhm.
sentence.
Okay, okay. But can you explain that more details, because I think we have few more times,
Sure.
like at 5 minutes we can discuss with you.
Okay. So what I feel like, to be an entrepreneur, you have to have a lot of grit and determination. And I
Mhm.
always probably sometimes overuse the phrase that if you do not know to which port you're sailing, no winds are favorable.
Mhm.
So you have to decide your goal. And once you
Mhm.
have decided your goal, I don't know if you've seen a tiger or a lion chasing, and when he's hunting, you look at
Mhm.
him, he's not worried about anything. At that point of time, he is just thinking of going behind and you know behind that animal and killing it. There is no
Mhm.
dilution in this thought. So that sort of a determination, that sort of a focus is what one definitely needs to have. Earlier days, there were not so many opportunities, but today
Mhm.
there are a lot of different opportunities that an entrepreneur has. There are a lot
Mhm.
of different problems that the world is facing. The entrepreneur
Mhm.
should pick up a problem that business that will solve a pressing problem that the world has, and you should
Mhm.
go behind it. Then there are a lot of
Mhm.
other things in terms of the basic idea, then creating the concept, then the proof of concept, then doing test marketing, then go to market strategy, raising finance,
Mhm.
communication strategy, marketing, all these things, which is a part of being an entrepreneur, and to make the business successful is what one needs to address when one takes the journey. So it is an arduous journey. It's not easy. It's going to be an onerous task, and one needs to have a lot of patience, like I said, and never lose hope. Because when you
Mhm.
think that you're almost done, just a little few steps ahead, and the success is waiting for you.
Mhm. This is most important part for this today's interview. Actually, hope is
Yeah,
most important. We have to be positive. We have to be
absolutely.
engaged with the most beautiful people around the world. Every
Yeah,
country have lot of opportunity. Every country has lot of beautiful things. So we have to
yes,
grab up this opportunity. And especially
yes,
World Talent Economy Forum, we are
yeah,
trying to engage with most of the talented people around the world, from
absolutely.
Cyberjaya to Silicon Valley, from India to Australia, everywhere. Even we want to work with talent people. We want to work with. We
Sure,
have to know. We have to understand. We have to explore opportunity. We actually go for
sure,
conquer. So this is
yeah,
the plan. This is our idea. This is
sure,
our hope that we will achieve by this way. We have a lot of young people around the world. We can
definitely.
change their mindset. We can help them to grow economically solvent. And another important thing is that what you are talking about, NGO and healthcare, we have many underprivileged peoples. So we want to help them.
Absolutely.
We want to work with them. If we have a
Yeah.
underprivileged peoples, and underprivileged people has a lot of challenges. This is
Yes.
the things of the present world. And COVID-19 area, we do not want to stop our job. We do not want to stop our work.
Absolutely.
We have to move forward. We have to be advanced thinker. We have
Yeah.
to make proper connections. Always we say
Absolutely.
connectivity is productivity. So that is the things
Absolutely.
we invite you. That is the things we know that you have a lot of
Sure.
positive things. So we just want
Sure.
to share your positive attitudes, share your experience in between our
Thank you.
community, and
Yeah.
definitely India. We will go tour in India, and definitely we will invite you in Malaysia, and we will make a
Look
better
forward.
ecosystem and a positive platform. Hopefully, we will share this session in between our groups. You also share this session in between your community. We want to know. We want to know more about India. If you have any good speakers, any talented people, we want to welcome them. Thank you, Mr. Iftekhar Pathan, and everybody, especially Araf Mehraz, Mr. Shohels, Umaira Tanzila, everybody enjoying your sessions, and they give you special thanks for your informative sessions. Thank you, Mr. Pathan. It's a very nice discussions. Okay.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.